Thanks to everybody for coming along this afternoon, because I think it's so significant that we mark what is a range or a number of anniversaries, not least the Sinn Féin landslide election of 1918, but also universal suffrage for women, and also the election of Countess Markievicz herself. A number of weeks ago we had our Ard Corlia meeting in Lissadale House, which was the home of Countess Markievicz and also Eva Gore Booth, and it just was amazing to hold the meeting there, because that in itself was history, and somebody in many years will look back and see that photograph of the Sinn Féin leadership meeting in that historic place. So I just think that as we mark all these anniversaries, it's just so significant and hugely historic for us all. This year also marks the 150th anniversary of the birth of Countess Markievicz, which was why we commissioned this piece of work from Tony Bell. And as Raymond says, when you look at Martin's portrait downstairs and then this portrait today, this to me is about, we're Republicans, we're in this institution, we're elected by the people to be here, and I think that it's important that that's also represented in the places which we come to fight the corner of the people which we represent. Countess Markievicz was born into great wealth, and as I said, she was born in privilege in Lissadale House in County Sligo, and she herself defined all the social norms of the time, becoming heavily involved in Republican politics, founding the Daughters of Ireland in 1908, founding Na Fianna Éireann, and joining both the Irish Citizens' Army and Sinn Féin. And she, along with many other women, played their part in the rising of 1916. And at that time it was women and men who came together from every class, every creed, every background, from rural communities, from the slums of Dublin City. And just like Markievicz, they rejected the confines of class, the confines of privilege, and to join that combination of what was a national movement, the women's movement, the labour movement, in declaring that they collectively stood for a republic. 100 years ago, Irish women also won the right to vote. In principle at least, the franchise was extended to a limited number of people, women over the age of 30, who owned property or who had a university education. Countess Markievicz herself stood for Sinn Féin in that 1918 general election, and she became the first woman elected to Westminster. Her aim then, as is ours now, is that of Theobald Wolfe to break the connection with England and to assert the independence of our country. Markievicz urged women to set aside the feminine stereotypes and to immerse themselves in the politics of the day, and that was the fight for Irish freedom. She rejected all the conventions of her time, the expectations of her class, the societal restrictions of her gender, and she fought for a true republic. She and the other 72 Sinn Féin MPs refused to take their seats at Westminster in making a bold statement by their very absence, and they established the first Dáil on the 21st of January in 1919. She was appointed Minister for Labour, the first woman government minister in Europe. And I think her story is a story of determination, of independence, of idealism, of self-sacrifice in pursuit of freedom for the Irish people. And we continue to be inspired by her today as we continue to struggle for an Ireland that's based on equality, on freedom, peace and prosperity. Throughout the revolutionary history of Irish republicanism, women have understood the connection that there is between Irish freedom and equality and women's rights. A century on, it's timely to reflect on the progress which has been made, on all those glass ceilings that have been shattered. Whilst Markievicz, the most unmanageable of revolutionaries, forged that road, I certainly believe, and I'm sure people here agree, we have a way to go. We remain underrepresented, we're still something of a novelty in public life, and Republicans today, like those before, understand that there can be no liberation without women's liberation. We want a party that wants to lead change and helps to shape a better society for all people. And I'm very proud of our party, that we have chosen two female leaders, both myself and Mary Lee MacDonald, to lead this party. And that in itself is a truly humbling honour for us, and it comes with great responsibility, but responsibility which we're more than happy to take on. Whilst Irish women have far more rights today than our grandmothers and our great-grandmothers, women's equality in Ireland has yet to be achieved in many areas. The old pillars of conservative control are being challenged. The media, the church, politics and business. A new Ireland is emerging, but it's one that we must shape together. A new and a united Ireland. And the equality of women is central to any new Ireland. So we have work to do to close the gender pay gap, to bring in new laws to provide access to healthcare right across this island, for women to live free from violence, to provide affordable childcare, to end economic inequality, and to bring more women into public life and to politics. The election of Markievicz and her Sinn Féin colleagues in 19 has important parallels for us in today. 100 years ago, Nationalist and Republican Ireland rejected Westminster, realising that the solutions to Irish problems will never be solved on the green benches of Westminster where they were created in the first place. Today, and once again, the nationalist people of the North have taken the same position, electing 7 Sinn Féin abstentionist MPs. And I challenge our critics at both ends of Dublin's Merrion Street, who are more than happy to go out and beat the drum in honour of Markievicz over the past fortnight, but yet and all, they have not got one single vote between them here in the North. They are rhetorical Republicans, and our message to them is clear. Sinn Féin will not be sending Irish representatives to Westminster, nor will we take a pledge of allegiance to the Queen. Stop insulting the nationalist people of the North who, by their own choice, voted to reject Westminster and elect 7 able Republicans to represent their local interests here in this country. I would suggest that the wisest thing that these people and these parties could do is to support the 7 MPs in their right to speak in the Dáil, where they should be entitled to give the people of the 6 counties democratic expression and representation as we enter 2019 and the centenary of the first Dáil. I just want to finish with this. In the 1918 election, our message was, if you want an Irish Republic, then vote for Sinn Féin. It's a message that's as relevant today as it was then. And we have to go out and sell that message to the people, not just to ourselves. We need to go out and convince people, to engage with people, to listen to people, because we're building a modern Sinn Féin movement. We're building our politics on a national basis. This is not a time to think small. This is a time for us to think big. So I think that as we go on now into our Christmas holidays, I want people to go away, have a great break, enjoy yourselves, and come back in the new year refreshed, because we have big, big work to do. We have a presidential voting rights campaign, a referendum to win, and we have an Irish unity poll to secure and also to win. So we have a lot of work to do, but I have no doubt that the people in this room are as committed as those people that went out and fought that 1918 general election. Gura míle maith.